Welcome to a apparently very sunny special edition of Wandering Talks. If my background looks a little different, that's because I'm not at home. I'm at my parents' house. Let me take these off. And if my background's not moving as fast, it's because I'm not moving as fast. What? You mean you've slowed down? Why? Tell me, why would you slow down? Well, that'll happen to you when you find yourself in a car accident. Who is this? Are they gonna go on by? Yep. Thank you. Yay. Yay for walking support. Let's talk about... I don't... It's weird how life works. Let's talk about that. The weirdness of life, and sometimes the synchronicity of events and experiences can feel like they're almost scripted and written. And I can understand why people believe that there's plans for us out in the world. And maybe there are. And maybe some of us believe in the plans. Maybe some of us follow them. Maybe other of us don't acknowledge them and yet still find our ways on them. Whatever the case may be, maybe there is a plan for life, and maybe there isn't. Maybe chaos in itself is a plan. Why am I getting at this? Well, so how the accident happened. Drove down to Wilmington on Sunday morning with my art curator, homie, brother kind of figure, and me and him had a great ride down I-40. We saw all kinds of things, like a line of fancy foreign cars from McLarens to Lambos. We saw a car hit some debris in the middle of the road and have to pull over. Just all kinds of things, and chatting about everything from music and hip hop to public transit and how technology is creating a new kind of class system in our country. Phenomenal stuff. Really, really, really great talks. I love a road trip for those reasons, because I feel like they're great places where you get to just chat and have a great unexpected and unprovoked conversations with each other. So we did that, and we arrived in Wilmington around 2 o'clock, and it was funny because we were talking about when should we eat? Should we eat beforehand? Should we eat after? Should we wait till we get to Wilmington and then eat? I was like, oh, yeah, let's wait. Let's go ahead and get there, and then we'll get our stuff settled, and then we'll eat there. So we arrive in Wilmington, and we go to the home of an older elder who is going to be assisting us for our video shoot that day. That was the whole reason we went down. We were doing a poetry video film about some history in Wilmington, and I'll tell you what that history is in a few. But the elder was going to be on site with us and helping out with the assistance and aid of another team member who was already down there. So that was going to be our game plan. However, we get there and we jump from his car into hers, and this is the time where we're about to go get something to eat. And we go to a little Port City Java, which is just a coffee chain in that area. It might be elsewhere, but I know it's big in the Port City. And as soon as we pull out, I kid you not, 2 to 3 minutes after purchasing a matcha latte and a nice breakfast sandwich, I'm about 2 bites in, and I hear the driver, I'm sitting back passenger in a Honda SUV, and the front, the driver, she sees something in the rear view while we're stopped at the red light, and claims like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." And then the curator looks back, and he basically starts screaming like, "Look out!" And next thing I know, I look back and I see the underbelly of a car coming right into our window. It happened so fast, and it's so strange how the mind works that like my vision processed it, but my mind had yet to like put the knowledge together on what it was seeing. Like I knew I know what I saw, and yet I could not interpret what I saw. Because also, like, that's not just a sight that you're supposed to see. You're not supposed to see the underbelly of a car unless you're underneath it, or you're watching a movie. And yet, here was the underbelly of the car in the view of this window, and it just basically smacked us. Not like bumper or rear end, like it kind of like came from the top and crumbled part of the car. It was the most wildest thing I've ever seen and experienced and witnessed. As soon as impact happened, like I had some serious disorientation, but then was able to finally like come to, and I can remember Mike basically like calling out to me to tell me to crawl out of the car, that I had to get out. And I love my man's. In his defense, he thought the car was gonna blow up. Statistically, cars don't blow up that much. Movies do make us think that like, oh, every car is liable to explode during an accident, but very few times do cars blow up. And yet, it was great to self-extricate myself instead of having to wait for like the jaws of life to come, open up the door, which could have definitely been the case. But I unbuckled my seatbelt and I tried to move. And I couldn't move. I couldn't move for a couple seconds. Like, it was just not reacting and processing and responding to my like thoughts of like, I gotta get up. Like, he's telling me to move, and I'm like, yeah, I'm moving, but like I couldn't until like finally it clicked. Something clicked in my body, and like all the crank got yanked, like, and my body was finally like, all right, we're moving again. And like that adrenaline kicked in, and I straight up crawled from the back through some glass, through some metal, out through the front of the car, across the street, and I found some grass to lay in, and I just laid in there while the rest of the whole ordeal happened. And there's some things that I vividly remember, and there's other things that I'm like, I couldn't tell you all that was happening, but I was so out of it. EMS came, fire department came, they checked my vitals, took care of me, the whole works, asking who I am, where I'm from, what am I doing, yada yada yada, all the important stuff to see like where's my level of like awareness and coherence. And then I got taken on a stretcher, put in an ambulance, and sent to the emergency room. And it was so interesting. I didn't have a phone during all of this. I just had my digital camera and my notebook, my little anthropology field notebook, and a pen, thankfully, at this time. So I was just like sitting in the emergency room, and in the ambulance and everywhere else, just taking notes about what I saw, how I was feeling, like my initial responses to things. Like, I was very well aware of what transpired. So it was interesting to like have an opportunity to capture in real time, like, what is it like to be in a car accident? And not just like, oh, this is a fender bender or rear end or we got T-bone. Like, this was like, I'm ready to turn your SUV into a crushed aluminum can. And that's what happened. And after getting some exams done on myself, CTs and all that stuff, came to the diagnosis that I have at least 2 fractured ribs, some ground glass opacities, which means there's probably some aspiration in my lungs from what occurred, and some really bad muscular skeletal pain in my back, which is part of the reason why the cane is so helpful right now, because everything hurts. And specifically when I move, like, it isn't just like, oh, it's just general pain all around. Like, there is that, and there is this like extremely, it's almost like having a landmine in my back, and depending on what I do or where I step or how I move, I can just set that landmine of pain off, and it just like screams and shatters anything that I'm doing. Like, I can be fine, chill, easygoing, and I get that I stretch too far, or I move too fast, or I do something else, and it's just a very sharp and sudden reminder that your body is kind of broken right now. And I'm grateful that I can at least say that my body is broken and it's not anything worse. However, boy, does it hurt. I was able to get discharged that day, and there's so much, like, so many things that you start to uncover and find out when you're in an accident. You hear about, how did it happen? Like, how was it that a Charger could fly into the air? Well, the rumor is, and we don't have the official police report just yet, they're still investigating, but the rumor is that somebody must have clipped the vehicle, the Charger, a third vehicle, and that caused this Charger to start rolling and barreling down the road. It's also my belief that the Charger was speeding and doing definitely some reckless driving, because also in the rumor mill was the fact that they smelled weed all in the Charger as they were extricating that driver. So it's not looking good for Buddy. However, it might be looking even more ugly for whoever was the one driving, or driving the first car that caused that, because the rumor mill, once again, said that that person tried to flee on foot. Can you believe it? Caused an accident and then tried to flee on foot, but got caught by the boys. So it's really interesting to think about all those things happening in a car accident at the same time. Something that I thought, talking about those intricate plans of life, we went to go do a project on the history of Wilmington, specifically their first black cemetery, Pine Forest Cemetery out in Wilmington, and we were coming to do this video about honoring the lives and the deaths of those who were buried there. And so that's the baseline. What was really strange too was the accident happened right in front of a mortuary shop or mortuary and a crematorium. So the grass that I told you I laid out at, that was like dead. Like, that was where other people go to die. Really, really, really strange stuff. So that's why sometimes it feels like life writes itself, Like, why is that the case? What happened? It's really strange. And what's really strange is also living in the aftermath of an accident like that. From the psychological to the physiological, I know I look like I'm together, but I'm just a ball of confusion and hurt on the inside right now. There's so many things. Like, my plans for my entire summer are gone, essentially, and now my only priority is like rest and recovery. I feel like I've taken advantage of the ability to be able-bodied And now I'm experiencing once again in my life, because I've had multiple injuries that have caused various forms of like, oh, I just can't do that right now. Um, to just go from very able bodied, like I was able to just dance a week ago and move my entire body and swim and sway and do this, and now like I can't even walk. I can barely sleep. I can't sit up. I can't pull myself up out of bed. I can't wipe my tail. It's all kinds of crazy stuff. So, with all that, like, it's just really interesting to think about what having a healthy body can be, and to all of a sudden not have that, or an able bodied, and how it changes your entire perception of how you move, how you live, how you breathe. Things that were so mundane, like putting on boxers, has now become like a task for the morning. And that's just wild to think about. But there's something really beautiful and healing about like the level of presence that pain brings you into. It really forces you to sit with the here and now, and pain is sometimes about like restricting movement, and you don't do things because it's going to cause pain, and pain makes you slow down, and pain makes you think and ponder and have a little bit more intentionality when you're doing things. And I don't know, I just feel like those were some pretty on time and helpful lessons to experience at this point, even though pain totally sucks. So here's to hopefully a good recovery season. We'll see how it goes, but thanks for listening.